narrowly, lost one narrowly, and has won again narrowly. And the idea that what was decided in this election is the obliteration of Americanism, the empowering of a Caesar, the destruction of the checks and balances through recess appointments of a Star Wars clown car bar scene, is rejected by most people. And when they look at these corporate media stations, what they see is performative cynicism. So it's not true of everybody. I think Rachel Maddow has a lot of integrity. My friend Nicole Wallace, I think, is a titan of Now, you look at the CEOs of some of the media companies, like a David Zaslav, where the business model is utterly preposterous. It's all a Ponzi scheme. It is a shuffling of the debt card. They don't make money, so the vulnerability is even greater.
Right.
You stay in line, you get to keep making $65 million a year, David Zaslav, even though your company loses money and your ratings are shrinking. And so capitulant acts should be observed and seen. Now, this is a moment where there should be deep introspection and reflection inside the Democratic Party, because they just lost a race to Donald Trump. And so you would think it would beggar the question, what is it about us that the American people find so alarming and out of touch about that they vote for this guy? Put that aside. You have some of the most unfit people that have been ever nominated to a position of public trust. And I mean unfit to run a petting zoo. Pete Hegseth just read the alleged rape criminal report, cannot be the Secretary of Defense. Cannot. Robert F. Kennedy just read the report about the 23-year-old babysitter that he couldn't keep his hands off of.
By the way, he doesn't even deny that.
No.
Right.
No.
My co-host interviewed him, and he didn't even deny it.
And he's a guy that just leaves a wake of devastation and pain and wherever he goes. The nominee for the National Intelligence Director is a legitimate member of a cult. It's a yoga cult that holds that the practice of that specific yoga gives them the ability to see deeper truth in all things. She's unfit to be the Director of National Intelligence because she can't distinguish what's real and what's not, and she's easily manipulated by the propaganda of foreign intelligence services, which she goes on and repeats on Fox News. Clinically, Kristi Noem is a sadist, confessed by her own hands, who gave Donald Trump a replica of Mount Rushmore with his head added onto it, who's going to take command of America's 18 three-lettered domestic security agencies. All of these people, plus Matt Gaetz, are a profound threat to American liberty. It's not possible for these proverbial drunks to drive around our proverbial community in a giant tractor trailer, high as fuck, all day, every day, and not hit anything.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we're going to see the military deployed into the street, across the country. We're going to see an abuse of civil rights and civil liberties. that is going to be mind-boggling. We're going to see the wholesale hollowing out of the civil service, sledgehammering of vital institutions, and it's going to be a very, very rough time. And
Wow, wow, wow. Folks, you are looking at one of the biggest political fertilizer faces in politics. And I am probably the second greatest brander of names in the world after President Donald Trump. He's the king of branding. I'll take second place. I don't really care. But the name that I've given to Steve Schmidt is Steve Full of Bullschmidt. I mean, if that's not a fertilizer face, I don't know what is. But I just wanted to sort of go down the list of all the things that he was talking about, all the bullshit that he was basically making, the verbal diarrhea that was emanating from this gentleman here, who has never won a major political race in his life, gives out all kinds of advice, all kinds of prognostications, all kinds of predictions on the political scene, and has yet to be correct. This guy falls on his face more times than you could make pancake batter and slap it all over him. I mean, he talks about introspection, that we've really got to think about the reasons why we keep losing to Donald Trump. And we need to understand that. I can give it to you right away, Steve Bullschmidt. Basically, it's in the branding of your name, because that's all you guys do is deliver bullshit. And you guys are unbelievable effing liars politically. The other thing, you're mentally challenged in terms of political ramifications. In other words, you basically are political retards, because you simply can't grasp the fact that if you continue to lie, if you continue to gaslight normal, everyday working Americans, flyover country, and now even in blue states, finally, millions of them have woken up and said, wow, these guys are full of shit. People like Kyle KKK Kulinski, he's full of shit. Crystal Ball, who doesn't really have one. She's wrong on everything. She's also full of bullshit. Steve Bullschmidt, all of them from all the legacy media, they've been telling lies. They've been gaslighting, pouring gasoline on the fires, making stuff up. And now, since everything is unraveling, now they're having a panic attack. And now they're attacking everybody and everything, eating their own, attacking the voters, attacking other people within the progressive movement, the Democratic Party. That's what they're doing, folks. I mean, look at what they're doing. A president has the ability to pick whoever the goddamn well he pleases as his cabinet members. Doesn't have to run it by you, Steve Bullschmidt, or you, Kyle KKK Kulinski, or Crystal Ball, who doesn't really have one. But yet, he goes on to say that Tulsi Gabbard, he's attacking yoga people now. Oh, she's taking yoga classes. She's totally unfit. Well, you know what? She is fit, because that's why you take yoga classes. Right? You want to become fitter. You want to be in touch with your inner self. You want to have clear, level-headed thinking. Yoga allows you to meditate. But see, Steve the Bullschmidt Schmidt wouldn't understand this, because he doesn't understand everyday normal people. He's an elitist piece of crap who sits in his ivory tower and covers the ass of everybody politically involved within the Democratic and the progressive and the liberal in the establishment elitist movement. He's a globalist, for crying out loud. Then he says Kristi Noem's a sadist. Why? Because she gave a replica. Get this, folks. This is why the governor of Dakota is a sadist. Why? Because she's giving a replica of Mount Rushmore with Donald Trump's face carved in it. I think they should actually start doing that right now. The greatest president ever in the history of the United States of America. He has to have his face up on Mount Rushmore. Let's start the campaign, right now. And then he's calling all the political appointees right now for the cabinet picks as drunks driving down the highway and just waiting to cause a collision. I mean, keep going down this lane, Steve Schmidt. Keep giving your political prognostications, your predictions. Because one thing we know, everything that you've ever said has not once, ever come to fruition, come to truth. Everybody knows you're all lies. Everybody knows it's all fake news. Everybody knows that whatever you utter is literally verbal diarrhea. Anyways, folks, you're watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. We hope you've enjoyed this content. If you have, subscribe to the channel. You all know what to do. Let's hear more from Steve Schmidt as he's being interviewed by Kyle KKK Kulinski and Crystal Ball, who has never really had a crystal ball. Let's go.
Requires truth tellers who are tough, people who will not bend, will not back up, and it will mean that civil society in its aggregate has to stand up. And people as Americans have to say no.
We did.
For example, if you're a kid, a high school student in Oklahoma, when the nutter who is the state superintendent tries to impose state-ordered prayer, stand up, walk out into the hallway, organize it with all of your student friends before school, after school, and paralyze your school. You've already had enough education stolen from you during COVID.
Yeah, and you were a part of that, weren't you, Steve?
If they want to impose this farce on you, when the administrators of your school are ready to get to the business of teaching, make yourself available to learn and sit back down in your seat.
Hey, Steve-O, why didn't you tell the students to do that during the COVID lockdowns, huh? Why didn't you tell the students to mass protest and paralyze the school district then? Where was your verbal diarrhea at that time?
But until then, assert your constitutional right to not be programmed and defy what is an illegal and immoral and political assault on Americanism.
Wow.
Read about civil disobedience. Read the letter from the Birmingham jail. People all across this country, ordinary people, are going to be called to stand up in this moment, because don't look to the Joe Amikas of the world.
That's right.
They don't care about you, and they're not on your side.
Neither do you.
So when all is said and done, the final margin is ultimately going to be about 1.5 percentage points, which is the smallest popular vote margin since George Bush in 2000. But what I see is a lot of people acting like this is the mandate of all mandates, and Trump is FDR after winning his fourth election. You're already seeing capitulation to elements of Trumpism, as you guys both pointed out. My question for you is...
Before I ask this question, here's the premise. Trump didn't win the popular vote in 2016, so they attacked him, and they attacked the Electoral College as being bigoted and racist and not being reflective of what the country really wanted, because they want to abolish the popular vote because they know Democrats have a difficult time in achieving that. Now that he wins the popular vote, they can't attack him on that. So now they're going to attack him on the fact that It wasn't a large enough popular vote. He didn't win it by an illegal 7 or 8 million votes, which were done by Joe Biden illegally, right? It wasn't illegal votes that he won by. He's going to win it by 1.5 million, 2 million votes. But that's not enough. So this is the premise where this is going. And this is fine. Continue driving down this lane. Because once again, Kyle KKK Kulinski doesn't have a freaking idea about what he's talking about. They've been wrong since 2016 on every single issue. Why would we believe them for a decades-long, unbelievable losing track record? Would you take any betting advice from these jokers?
So we haven't gone down that rabbit hole. We're not capitulating to Trump in any way, shape, or form. And as MSNBC's ratings implode, our ratings go up.
Bullshit.
Our numbers go up.
Same here.
Our subscribers go up.
You lost subscribers.
Go up.
No,
So
Steve Bullshit never had
Are they
any
just
subscribers.
fundamentally miscalculating? And do they not understand there is no market for half Trumpism right now? The people feel, in my case in particular, I would say, I'm even more reinvigorated to fight back even than I was in 2016. And
Coping.
it looks like there's a fundamental misreading of the room that's happening among MSNBC hosts.
And you guys as well. Think about it, Steve-O.
74 million people at least
Here it
voted
comes.
for Kamala Harris the last
Bingo.
time I looked. This is so important what you just said. And
Very
I just
important.
want to say this slowly for everybody who can see me, hear me, and he did
The reason he said slowly, and he's going to repeat it, is because he thinks Americans are stupid. He thinks they're idiotic, moronic, and retarded. And what we need to do is flip that mirror onto Steve Schmidt and say, Steve-O, I'm not an idiot. You're an idiot. I'm not a moron, Steve-O. You're a moron. Steve, I'm not bigoted. You're bigoted. Steve, I'm not racist. You're racist. Steve, I'm not retarded. You're retarded. We need to throw those modifiers and adjectives back into the faces of these proponents of democracy when they are actually the proponents of fascism themselves. Steve Schmidt is one of the biggest fascists out there because he believes that only his opinion matters and only his opinion counts. And if they'd only done it the way that he wanted to be done, America would be great.
did not win a majority. He won
Nope.
a plurality.
There you go.
He won under 50% of the country. So what that means is the core issue of whether we want to live in the magatocracy remains undecided.
I love the
By the
magatocracy.
thinnest of wafers, Trump has become president after
By the way, that wafer was both brown, black, and white. It was a very nice tasting wafer of all colors, shapes, and sizes. And dare I say, genders.
3 elections in which he won narrowly, lost one narrowly,
Illegally,
and has won again narrowly.
legally.
And the idea that what was decided in this election is the obliteration of Americanism, the empowering of a Caesar, the destruction of the checks
I love Caesar. I love Caesar, especially with the salad. I love it. The dressing is phenomenal.
and balances through recess appointments
Yes.
of a Star Wars clown car bar scene is rejected by most people.
No, it's
And
not.
when they look at these corporate media stations, what they see is performative cynicism. So
Like you.
it's not true of everybody. I think Rachel Maddow has a lot of integrity.
Oh
Friend
my
Nicole
God.
Wallace,
You've got to be freaking kidding me. You've got to be freaking kidding me, folks. we've got to hear that thing all over again. We have got to hear that thing all over again. Let's hear this thing here.
Wars clown car bar scene is rejected by most people. And when they look at these corporate media stations, what they see is performative cynicism. So it's not true of everybody. I think Rachel Maddow has a lot of integrity. My friend Nicole Wallace, I think, is
one of the worst
of integrity, and I think produces a great show. You know, we're talking about politics today, but we haven't talked about.
Both Rachel Maddow and Nicole Wallace are absolutely politically, they are retarded. They need to be mansplained, and I am willing to mansplain to Rachel Maddow, also known as Mark Cuban. I think they're both the same people. Sometimes Mark appears, sometimes Rachel appears. It just depends upon which day of that one day of the week when she has her show, and he has her show, and she, he, she, whatever it is. And Nicole Wallace, you want to talk about somebody who calls herself a freaking conservative? She is anything but. She's moronically, politically idiotic. I would basically have to put her in the category of both of them, the Lucille Balls of idiocy. Because guess what? Ricky Ricardo is going to have to come into their studio and go, instead of saying, Lucy, got some splaining do, it's going to be Rachel, Nicole, you got some splaining do. And let a man who understands politics, like myself, I would be more than willing to mansplain, not only to you, Steve Bullschmidt, but also to Kyle KKK Kulinski and Crystal Ball, who never really had one, and to Nicole Wallace, and to Rachel Maddow / Mark Cuban. Anytime, anywhere, any place, how truthful I am in terms of politics, ideology, conservatism, MAGA first, American nationalism, American superiority, Donald Trumpism, the Trump doctrine. Anywhere, any place, anytime, I would be willing to explain the truth to all you folks, because somebody needs to do it, because you guys are peddling so much verbal diarrhea, so much gaslighting, and the lies that you guys are spreading needs to be abated.
About policy, we haven't talked about issues, we haven't talked about ideology. What we share in common is not necessarily those things, but it's a sense of character.
You have no character.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
No, you're not.
And
you're
I'm
a liar.
going to tell you what I believe.
Bullshit.
And I'm not going to pull punches. If I tell you that Donald Trump is a fascist,
you're
I'm
an idiot.
To say it because I believe it, I mean it, and I can back it up.
No, you can't. You're a moron, politically
and so
retarded.
You are seeing this cratering because what the business model is about the marriage of information to power and its broadcast. A great example of that is Jen Psaki. So
another idiot.
This is supposed to be a news organization, right? You're the White House press secretary, and while you have that job, you're negotiating with the news organization, and you will literally drive out of the White House to the set of your new show in the corporate media to echo the talking points that you were previously speaking behind the blue podium in the press briefing room.
Now you attack this Steve Bullschmidt? What about George Stupid Stephanopoulos? That idiot, that moron. What about him? Did you ever attack him? Or are you just attacking women now? You have some nerve there, Steve Bullschmidt. You have some nerve. I never once heard you, once. And I'm willing to bet, I don't know this because I don't watch you a lot, or Jen, Psycho Psaki. But You probably went on her show a couple of times, probably to peddle something. But then at that time, you didn't bring this thing up, I'm sure, right? But now you have the, oh, wow, it's really gutsy of you, Steve Schmidt. I mean, there's so much courage in your soul. There's courage there that you now are literally attacking Jen Psychosaki and basically wondering. She went from the gates of the White House to the gates of MSNBC. How could she do that? That's not supposed to happen. That's terrible. These guys are unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, they just think that nobody listens. I mean, to think that American people, the American voters, the American people didn't realize this from the freaking beginning. What about all those guys from the Defense Department, the Defense Secretary, the DNI, the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, all going to CNN, MSNBC, NBC, all the broadcast stations, multi-million-dollar contracts? And I never heard you speaking up at that time, Steve Schmidt.
On what's supposed to be an American independent journalism at a time where trust is collapsing in every institution in the country. And holy shit, like, you can't make it up.
That's right,
and
you
that
can't.
model has collapsed because the displacements of power and information have empowered and flattened the field where people with conviction have the ability, really in an insurgent manner, to displace incumbency. And you will see more and more of that. Journalism isn't dead in America. Corporate accommodationist access journalism is dead. The leader of the AP News Bureau, right, the Associated Press News Bureau, writes a hagiography of Jill Biden, right, for the purpose of going to book parties together, being in business together. What's the business? It's the access business. And this is a moment where everywhere you look, powerful people in this country are doing shit they ought not to be doing that harm.
They've been doing it for decades, you illiterate, retarded, politically moronic, stupid son of a gun. You're saying this thing now? You never said this stuff before, Steve Schmidt. Never once did you say this thing before. But now, because Trump wins and you want to get out your verbal diarrhea into the political toxic environment, now you decide. Before, would I basically say that you were politically a coward? Yeah. Not only politically a coward, just a coward in general, Steve Schmidt. Because you never called this thing out once in the last decade. You certainly didn't call it out during the 3.5 years of the Biden administration. Oh, you were out there fighting against the never Trumpers. You were on board for that for 4 years. Never once did I hear you say anything. You were on board with the Russia. Ukraine. And now you expect us, all of us, to actually believe that you finally come to your senses and basically saying, they want political access, and they want political power access to the political people. And there's a marriage between journalists and people in the political sphere that were close to the seats of power. And then that's wrong. That the guy from AP is writing a piece on Joe Biden. And now that's wrong because, he just wants to go to the same book parties and be able to tell Jill, I wrote a very nice book about you. Now you're speaking up. It's all fake. It's all fraud. You're all about lies of omission and gaslighting. We all know that, Steve Schmidt. And we also see that you're being interviewed by two of the other bullshitters and verbal diarrheas within the political sphere who really think that they know what the hell they're talking about when they've been completely wrong in all the bullshit that they've been talking about politically. They're both political retards, married to each other. So you've got Kyle KKK Kulinski and Crystal Ball, who doesn't have one. And if and when they have children, I hope they don't go, they're going to be politically retards. Their offspring. So I'm begging you. And since they believe in abortion, maybe that's what they'll have, maybe that's what they'll end up doing. Who knows? I mean, you never know with these people. They might want to make a statement about that. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I'm your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you've been done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our video links that you see that pop up in front of you. Choose any one of them or all of them. Take a look at our video links on our YouTube page. Put your comments down below. Love for you to share and comment. Are you with me? Do you think I went too far? Do you think I didn't go far enough? I just try to tell it like the way I see it, the way I sees it, and the way I need to mansplain it to some women out there on the left. Anyways, my final thought, when you're right, and I always am. Always. It's a curse. And when you're left, you're wrong, like these losers like Steve Schmidt or Kyle KKK Kulinski, or perhaps even Crystal Ball, who never really had one. Folks, until next time, y'all stay safe and take care.